Hello, Joyce Pinch. How are you today?
I'm very well, Jenny. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. I'm very happy. I'm surrounded by beautiful paintings. Just like your good self.
That's good. Great.
Now, where are you, Joyce? Tell me where you are.
I'm in my studio in Stinchcombe, which is a rural setting. And I have the garden all around, and the studio itself has plenty of light, which is perfect for working on the sort of subject matter that I focus on, really.
Yes, well, I want to find out more. I want to find out more about all of that, Joyce. Let's just skip back to the beginning, because you have painted all your life, haven't you? I mean, you're from a creative family, you've painted all your life, and you've taught. So can you just quickly sort of wind back the years for me and just tell me how you've got to this point?
Well, I trained at Redden College in Bristol, which was a teacher training college, where I focused on art and design, which was my love, and, you know, planning to teach. And it was a great department. In those days, we had plenty of facilities and equipment. It was just brilliant. And lots of time, which kids today don't get. So then I went from there and eventually ended up teaching art and design in a big comprehensive in Gloucestershire, where I was head of art. And after so many years, I was asked if I'd like to join a PGCE course to teach the art teachers in Bristol at UWE. And I thought, well, yeah, this is good, which would give me more time to continue to paint for myself. You know, I have always painted, even when I was teaching, always painted. And so that's what I did. And it reinforced, actually, the subject matter that I wanted to focus on, because I collected masses of natural things over the years for my students to work from. And so as soon as I started to paint really seriously, I thought, you know, I could do a lot worse than just focusing on the natural forms, which I love.
Yeah.
So hence the rest is history.
And actually, we can see just to the side of you there, a seed head of some sort.
Yes, well, this is recent stuff from the garden, because I use the garden as a resource. It's not the only thing I use, but I mean, I use the lanes and the fields surrounding me. People, once they know that you're interested in natural things, if they find something, they'll bring it along. I recently had a magpie nest brought to me by a tree surgeon. I don't know if you're interested in this. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's different, because usually I work on small little nests that are, you know, but this was a whacking great thing. And yeah, so there's a painting behind there, actually, that I did of the magpie nest, and it's really interesting. So
wonderful. So the resources come to you.
Well, not always. Sometimes I'll find something and I think, this is going to make a very good study. I might do it on a small scale to begin with, and then think, no, this could go further. I could do it on a large scale.
So it's the form that you're interested in. I mean, you've got a beautiful garden. I know you've got a beautiful garden, and actually you are surrounded by some of Britain's most beautiful landscapes in
Yeah.
You're very lucky, but you're not interested in depicting landscapes. It is really the form, isn't it? And you are.
It is the form. I do sometimes do landscapes, but it is the form, because it's almost as though they are little sculptures. And I treat them as such, so that the lighting is important, and really bringing a close look at the object by focusing on the the shadows and the reflected light and the different textures, whether it's a light form like the aubergines behind you there, or something that's, you know, very colourful. It allows me to explore the colours and the shapes and give them gravitas, I think, really, is what I'm after.
Yes, you're lifting the humble, you're sort of elevating the humble, or the everyday, I suppose. And sometimes it's very punchy. I mean, these squash here, you've got these beautiful shapes and intense colours. And at other times, I mean, this is sublime and it's very soft. And actually, I didn't even know there were white aubergines until I...
No, neither did I, until I saw them in a market.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow,
yeah,
they're extraordinary. So I'm always on the lookout for something a little bit different. And generally, I like arrangement, arranging one thing next to another so that they have a sort of relationship with each other. And each form, if you put it into a group, is an individual. But it, you know, it has to be treated as a group so that they work together, which you can see with the chilies.
Yeah, they're like,
sorry?
A family unit, aren't they?
Yes, they are, like a little family, all nestled in together. Yes. Yes.
I mean, you can see with the squash, you've sort of gone for the colours and you've gone for that contrast. The background is like an abstract painting. Many of your pictures actually are like abstract paintings in their own right that happen to have objects on.
The squash is slightly different because I went to the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam and saw some paintings there by Adrian Court.
All right, yeah.
1700s, I think he was painting. And I thought, wow, that is exciting. But then I just experimented to see if I could do it like an old master. Something drew me back to my own arrangement of groupings, like both, which has a more contemporary feel, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I can see the influence, actually, that sort of, that tonal quality you really brought out in those.
And the dark ground, which is different to the way I usually work, which could be a colourful background.
Yeah.
Or the backgrounds for me are as important as the form, because it's making the form have relevance and solidity and presence. So the background is very important. So I might spend quite some time setting up a composition to make it work, if you like, to make it speak to me and hopefully to the viewer. Because
the eggs is actually, if you could take the eggs off, it is a completely flat background. By comparison, what I mean by that is...
Well, I'm looking down on that. Yes, I'm looking down on the shells, and I'm sort of horizontally looking at the aubergines, which is a different way of working. And so I changed that dependent on the subject matter. But with the shell, I wanted to look into it.
Yeah.
Because if you've got the convex and the concave, and if you look inside the shell, it has that sort of little membrane in there, which is so delicate, and it's slightly wet. And yet the outside of the shell is matte. And
it's too
some kind of magic, really, when you're painting, to get that feeling of the textures and the quality of the object. And it's fragile.
And it looks fragile. You know, when you're looking at the painting, it's a pretty. It doesn't look that big on screen, but it's quite a substantial sized painting. But you've got this very delicate shell, but then you're quite brave. You're shading, you're shadowing that bright blue that sits underneath it. It's
sometimes when you're painting, you see the opposite colour.
Yeah.
in the ground, in the surface that you're painting on. And you've got to search for those colours, really look for them, and then enhance them, you know, to sort of create a sort of mystery and to create a sort of, it's that ginger that's also in the background that forms this sort of link with the blue. And there's a sort of pale blue within the shell. And that's really what I get excited about, really, when I'm looking at form. And usually natural form.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's one of the wonderful things as a non-artist, as a viewer, is to be able to see differently, I suppose, because you make a lot of assumptions when you look about you in life, don't you? And you don't necessarily notice that actually there is blue in the shadows, or you know, Hockney famously painted his roads purple after the rain, and actually it wasn't until I'd seen that and I was driving through a country and I thought, gosh, they do actually turn purple after the rain.
That happens all the time to me when I'm looking at a scene. I'm thinking, what colour is that? Wow, that isn't what I thought it was. And it's the same with the object. When you first see it, you see it just as like with the white aubergine. It's a white aubergine. But when you start to paint it and really look, there are so many colours in there. It's full of colour, even though it's a white object. Well, of course, it's reflecting colour, but it's also got colour itself. And hopefully, you know, it makes the viewer and myself take a closer look, to really look. And that's my aim, I suppose. And
it's your forte, and I mean, we've worked together for what, 10, 15 years, whatever, I don't know. We won't say that on camera because we're both one. But
it's a long time.
You know, you have consistently surprised me, and you're always refreshing your approach. You're sort of you come up new with it each time, and the colours and the blending and you do keep it very contemporary. So actually, your work sits well in quite traditional settings and contemporary settings. And I think that use of colour and that use of using your eyes to actually see what's there is great. You know, it's
well, hopefully so. I don't want them to appear to be photographs. I want them to be more than that, because people who are photographers, they're very good at that, and I don't want to compete with that. It's a different thing. It's to give a presence to a sculptural feel to a scene.
They are very painterly. I mean, it's a bit difficult on the screen, but in the catalogue you'll be able to, you know, the viewers will be able to see that they are very painterly, and you can see the brush strokes within them and your hand on the canvas as well, or depending on.
And it's thinly applied. The paint I apply is very thin. I don't really use any impasto. If there is anything on it that is raised, it's accidental rather than meant to be. It's actually the smoothness that I love. And I have recently been painting on board more than canvas, because I find the board doesn't give quite so much. So I'm able to scrub and to blend colours more, which I find interesting.
And that's on board. The aubergine is on board, and these are on. Yeah. You also do these lovely, much smaller pieces, very sort of close. They're almost intimate. I mean, they're not studies because they're very clearly finished works, but they are very intimate and almost personal little.
Well, sometimes the studies, the little studies, take as long as the big paintings. You know, just working on a different scale.
Yeah.
But I find that when I've done a small painting, I'm thinking, sometimes I know it wouldn't work on a large scale. But some things I do, I think, yes, this has the possibility of being something really rather exciting on a big scale. And I do like working on a big scale. And it's good to do contrast, you know. Yeah.
Joyce, thank you very much for talking to me today. It's always a pleasure having a chat with you.
Lovely to see you.
And I can't wait to see what's going to come out next, but for now we're really delighted with the catalogue this month, and we hope everyone enjoys it. But in the meantime, until we speak next, thank you very much.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.